Hello, hello, you guys. We are back for another episode of Parmise. I still don't know what I'm going to be calling these. I don't know if this is a series. I don't know if this is just me yet again hosting another Yap session. So we're back. First and foremost, before I even get into what we're getting into tonight, I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank all of you who watched my last video. And for the amount of messages and DMs and supports, I know that sounds very like influencer-ish to say. It sounds kind of weird saying it, but I really, really am so deeply appreciative of each and every one of you who took the time out to reach out and to send me their love, send me their well wishes, even if not everyone fully knew what was going on with me behind the scenes. In case you missed it, I recorded a video earlier this week that basically walked through real-time processing of a very difficult life situation that I have been going through this past week. And my intention with that video was not to look for pity or empathy or anything like that, but it was to document how I show up for myself, how I show up for my business when life just starts lifing really hard. And all you can think about is wanting to crawl into a deep, dark hole and not come out. And yet, as adults and as business owners and as people who have responsibilities, that unfortunately is not always possible. And so, my intention with sharing that video was to show you guys what it looks like to be a messy human behind the scenes, to not feel like you always have to have it all together, and yet at the same time, be a living, breathing demonstration of how to infuse real, grounded authenticity and vulnerability in the way that you're showing up for your audience so that you're not showing up from this performative, curated space, but rather allowing people to feel your heart in your content and feel the rawness of the message that you want to share. I shared a little bit in that video, which if you haven't watched, I highly recommend you do, especially if the topic of overcoming adversity and difficulty and how to carry yourself and how to hold yourself through that experience is one that is maybe a bit more relevant to you at this stage in your life. Um, Really, one of the things that I said in that video is that typically I find, especially as personal brands, people with a platform, there isn't much guidance on how to show up in vulnerable times with this authenticity. A lot of times we're told that as personal brands, we need to be authentic and we need to be vulnerable. People need to connect with us and we need to infuse more of us in our content. And we haven't been taught how to do that in a way that doesn't turn people off, in a way that doesn't feel like we need to live for the internet or overshare or to turn every single life happening into a lesson or into a content piece. That's a recipe for burnout. That's a recipe for performance, and that's a recipe for feeling like we no longer own parts of our own journey for ourselves anymore. So I hope for those of you who watched it, aside from the kind messages that I received, I hope that it also provided a little bit of perspective and insight on how you carry yourself through truly challenging moments of difficulty. And how do you continue showing up for your brand? How do you continue showing up as this persona that has a consistent presence online, even when you really don't feel like it? I have since coined this term this week. I'm calling it classy crash outs. They're crash outs, but they're classy. And the reason why they're classy crash outs is because, as I shared in my video, there are times that we cannot be calm, cool, collected, contained. There are times where shitstorms come into our life, and whether it's a big loss or a death or illness or something that completely knocks us off our feet, there are times that it is okay if you completely fall apart. And it is okay if you are not being yourself. It is okay if you are not put the well put together, mature, grounded, wise person that you know yourself to be, especially if you're someone who self-identifies as being highly self-aware or very mature and very emotionally stable, just like I always have. It's okay to let yourself fall apart sometimes. There's no shame in that. There's no guilt in that. As a matter of fact, it's a healthy process of grief to feel those emotions at their depth. But where it becomes classy is when you know when to pull yourself out of it. And it is so important, I think, in life to not allow the challenges, the hurdles, the obstacles, the moments of darkness to keep you anchored in them. There's a source of personal power that you can forge simply by feeling the emotions that are coming up and allowing them to move through you, but also knowing that it is in your power to channel that and to respond to those emotions in a wise and grounded way. I use the analogy of kind of seeing it as like a contained explosion where people can feel you, they can witness you, and you yourself can witness yourself imploding, yet you are not causing havoc. You are not being chaotic. You are not potentially bringing harm to others or yourself. People get to witness you in that vulnerability and in that rawness, but they're not experiencing your mess. And that's why it's a classy crash out. You can have a crash out, but it doesn't mean that you need to be rage posting on the internet or subtweeting the people who have caused this hurt or causing dramatic encounters or anything of that sort. I think it's perfectly fine to be human and allow yourself to feel the range of emotions that come with any bit of bad news or any bit of challenges or obstacles in your life, but doing so in a way that allows you to connect with your personal power, not feeling like you're spiraling out of control. I was talking to a friend of mine and a couple of clients of mine today on a group call, and they were saying how much they value the way that I still continue to show up for my people despite what it is that I'm going through. And I don't try to mask it, I don't try to swallow it, I don't try to fake it and put on a smile and come on and say, all right, guys, like everything's fine, let's get on with it. I'm very transparent about my own personal journey, and I've been told by many people in the past that this takes away from my authority and you don't want to overshare with your people. And I can understand if that's coming from an ungrounded place, but I truly see it as I have a deep soul level connection with my clients and with my community. And I'm so grateful to have curated such an incredible group of people around me where me announcing that I need to take a couple of days off to take care of myself is not warranting negative responses. No one's disappointed. No one's feeling like I've left them hanging high and dry or that I've abandoned my business altogether. But I realize that for many people who don't have the emotional regulation skills, that is very much the case. The conversation I was having with a friend earlier is this membership that she's in, and ever since the membership has started, the person running the membership has been very inconsistent, has been making promises and just not delivering, and blaming X, Y, and Z for why things cannot, be delivered as promised. And I'm not here to poo-poo on anyone's business, but I recognize that as a business owner, as someone who has people who have entrusted them with their money, time, attention, energy, you have a responsibility. And for people like us who have a big mission, who are ambitious, who have a platform, who have a message to share, we have a responsibility to our people. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to be perfect and put together at all times, but at the end of the day, you have a responsibility for how you are carrying yourself, for how you are showing up, and for the type of leader that you want to be. I consider emotional regulation, self-soothing, nervous system work, all of the stuff that make me human and the way that I transmute pain into purpose as a part of my mission and as a part of my leadership. Because how can people trust me to lead them when I cannot even demonstrate that I lead myself? Right? So when we are moving through immense periods of pain and uncertainty and difficulty, it is perfectly, perfectly normal for us to not feel like ourselves. It is perfectly normal to not have the capacity, the energy, the bandwidth to show up with the same vigor as before. But we still need to uphold our responsibilities. We still need to create space for ourselves to feel the emotions and to go through the process and to throw the tantrum if we need to. But then we put our big girl pants on and we get back to work. It has been 6 days since I have had devastating news fall into my lap. And I mentioned in my video previously that I spent the first 3 days like horizontal, unable to function, unable to answer a message, unable to eat or to shower. And I gave myself that space to be that mess. I didn't judge myself or shame myself for not being able to get up and just get on with it. I allowed myself that space, but I recognized that I hit a point where I can either choose to wallow in that pain or I can choose to use this higher side of myself to pull myself out of it, to incrementally start taking baby actions, baby steps, whether it was taking a shower, going for a walk, having a light workout, having a meal, sitting down, looking at my computer, seeing what are the tasks that are pending, seeing which are the clients that need to get back to. We want to microdose and incrementally bring ourselves back to what is it that makes us us. And it is that ability to transmute pain and to transmute our own personal limitations into action, into our purpose, into our mission that starts to build that capacity. It starts to help us regain that confidence, or if anything, develop a greater sense of confidence because we see that we get knocked down on our feet, but we are able to get back up. And that is not to shame anyone who feels like it's taking them a while to get back up. I myself shared very vulnerably that I'm still going through the waves of emotion. I might be good for a little while and then I can feel this burning sense of rage and grief come over me, and I need to give myself that time. Maybe it's to go sit in the bathroom for 15 minutes and just breathe. Maybe it's to shut my camera off, go lay down. Maybe it's to distract myself. Maybe it's to go for a walk because I'm feeling antsy and my body needs to move through the emotion. I'm giving myself that space to do that. And it is not to judge myself and say, I should be over this by now. It's been 6 days. But it's to recognize that I don't want to over identify with that pain. That is not me. That is an experience that I'm going through, but it does not define who I am. And most importantly, it is not the type of leader that I want to be. In order to lead movements, in order to have a higher calling, in order to have people follow you, in order for people to respect you, for you to be that authority, you need to demonstrate it. You need to demonstrate it through the hard times. And this is where your reputation and your conviction is truly built. It is not when things are going well in your life that your character is displayed and shown. It is when shit hits the fan. It is when things are unbearable. It is when your character is being pushed to its limits, when you are at your capacity emotionally, physically, mentally. Those are the moments where your true character is revealed, is when you feel like you are backed up against a wall and you don't have a choice. What are the values that you rely on? What are the ways that you choose to carry yourself through that time? What are the ways that you choose to respond to other people? Are you able to contain those difficult emotions, or do you take it out on others? Do you relapse into poor coping mechanisms? It is in times of difficulty that our character is revealed, not when things are going fine and well. When everything is going well in our life and there's stability and there's community and we're feeling good and we're just flowing, it is easy to show up as a motivated, grounded, influential figure. But it is in the moments where life is truly, truly testing us that our actual ability to lead, our actual dominion over ourselves, our actual authority is showcased and shown. So, who are you when you're going through those tough times? Who are you when you're backed up against a wall? Do you fault on your integrity? Do you step out of bounds? Do you bring other people down with you? Do you find yourself being mean and harsh with others? Do you find yourself letting go and relinquishing responsibilities altogether? Do you cheat on your commitments? Who are you when you're backed up? That is the true test of character. That is the true essence of showing you whether you have what it takes to be a leader. All right. Um, Quick little thing I want to say before I even get into tonight's session. Which, by the way, this was one of the sessions I wanted to record last week and just could not bring myself to do it. There was a number of really, really invigorating discussions I had with my clients, and I had taken some notes on some reoccurring themes and questions I've been noticing amongst a lot of them. And I figured, why not just answer all of those questions in a video for everyone publicly? And yet, given the situation that I found myself in and the capacity that I was operating in, I just could not bring myself to doing it. So, a couple of questions came in after I posted the video about this entire ordeal and how I'm handling it, which is, how do you continue, or how do you know, like, what are the things that need to be tended to in times of chaos, in times of being swept up in the tornado of life and not knowing how to ground yourself, not knowing what to grasp onto, feeling completely out of control. How is it that you show up for your business? What do you know to focus on? And I've had this question from people who are navigating a divorce and people who have been uprooted from their home and are looking for their next home and haven't really landed on there yet. So they're very much in this state of limbo, which I myself, as many of you know, was in for 3, 4 years of my life, this perpetual state of limbo. How do you continue operating? What do you show up for? The best thing that I can tell you, aside from just giving yourself the space to process the emotions and the difficulty and being mindful of the capacity, right? Just because you have the capability to do something and the willingness to do something doesn't necessarily mean that you have the capacity to show up for it. Two very different things, capability and capacity. Um, it's also knowing what is the bare minimum that is going to be required of you in order to keep your business operating. What are the tasks? What are the things that need to be fed into? What are the systems that you have set up for visibility, deliverability, all of the things that actually need your attention versus what are the projects, what are the things that are absolutely not priority. And this is where I'm so grateful for the way that I had set up my business, because this is where having a business that is set up to contain and to support your lifestyle is so important. This is why structure, systems, knowing your rhythm, having a bit of a scaffolding of your business is so necessary, so that we're not just flying by the seat of our pants, if that's how you use that expression. I think that's right. So that it's not just this free flowing, like I just show up when I'm inspired and I launch things when I feel good about it. And, I just speak to my audience when it feels good. Nothing sustainable and nothing of true potency is ever made from just showing up when you feel like it. Our businesses are these masculine structures that need to be intentionally built and intentionally maintained. The only reason why I'm able to step back from my business when a life quake hits and I have no choice but need to, like, whoa, take a step back and reorient myself and figure out what's priority, what's not priority, and really give myself that time to recharge, is because my business has been set up with these types of things in mind. My business has been set up to be able to handle and to have buffer times for things like this happening. Why? Because I've gone through a lot of shit in my life. And I know that in my 10, almost 11 years in business, nothing always goes perfectly according to plan. And so, yes, it is perfectly fine to momentarily take a pause, maybe disappoint a couple of people, maybe be open and honest about where you're at and the time that you might need to just recuperate from whatever has happened. But having a business set up intentionally allows for these types of things. Having systems in place that notify clients, having maybe a team member in place that can take care of some things behind the scenes, having content and assets that are pre-written and ready to go, so that you're not just waking up every day going like, what do I want to say today? Having things that can be repurposed, having trainings that can be sent out, having assets essentially. It's like having your business have backup so that when things like this happen and you need to take a step back, you have that repertoire. You have that like armory that's got everything that you need. It's like, the way Iran's hidden missiles for the past 47 years, right? It's like the US keeps hitting and being like, they're out of missiles, and they keep coming out with more missiles. I can't believe I just used that as an example, but it's true. Um, Having the rhythm and having the structure and stability of your business operating as an entity rather than just your business consistently relying on you being the engine behind everything, that is so, so key. And that is one of the reasons why I'm not about this whole soft girl living, just showing up when it feels right and just doing what feels flowy and easy. It's going to take you some time and some butt whooping to get some assets created, to get some structures created, to add some frameworks to things, to be able to deploy resources and things to your clients so that they don't feel like they're left high and dry. To have experts and people in your community that can step in and support. Like, this is really how you see building your business as an asset rather than just this personality that you are online and then you occasionally sell things. Okay. So that when shit hits the fan, and if you had to take a week, 2 weeks, or like me last year, taking a sabbatical for 5 months, how is my business set up to support that? Right. I know a lot of people I work with, especially women, are, in a season of preparing for motherhood, in a season of preparing for stepping back for a while. Maybe they're going through a change or a transition in their personal life. And the same energy and vigor that they had for their business in the past is not necessarily the same level that they have now. And there's a lot of intentionality that is going into building a business and building the systems and the structures and the assets that support them during that time. So I know this might not be a super clear and cut answer, and depending on where you're at in business and what needs to be built, I highly, highly recommend you do a little bit of an audit right now and ask yourself if you had to emergency step away for 30 days from your business, would it all crumble? Would people still be there? Would money still be coming in? These are really, really important questions I want you guys to ask yourself when it comes to the way that your business is set up. Aside from the assetization of your business, the relationships, the relationship capital that you have with the people in your world is one of the strongest currencies that you can have in your business. The reason why I'm able to step back and people don't post chargebacks or flip out at me or call me unprofessional is because of the depth of connection and relationship that I have with my clients. I had several of my clients reaching out, not at all to ask me about timelines and about where I'm at with their projects or anything like that, but to ask me, are you okay? Do you need a space to talk? Do you need something from us? Would you like us to send you something? That is community. That goes beyond just a provider-client relationship. I don't see my clients as just people who pay to be in my offers and people who pay to receive support from me. My clients quite literally become part of a family with me. We go through things together. And as a matter of fact, I said this on my last video as well, I have supported many of them through their own grieving processes. I've supported many of them through their own life quakes and transitions. I have put contracts on hold. I have stopped payments. I have extended our contracts beyond what some would deem as reasonable. I have allowed people to stay in programs longer than what we originally agreed on. There's been so much flexibility, and I'm not doing this from a people-pleasing place or, you hear all these things in this industry about how like it's a mindset issue and it's because you feel like you need to earn their trust or like you need to get them to like you. And it's like, no, sometimes it's just about being a decent freaking human being. Right? If I have a client who's had a parent who's passed away, I'm not going to be like, well, that's too bad. You have to redeem your calls, otherwise they expire. No. And I truly do believe that through the years of having this flexibility and allowing my clients to experience the range of humanity without feeling like we need to fulfill contracts and stuff on time or that, their payments can't be stopped, otherwise they'll be kicked out of the program. Like that has created this deeper web of intimacy with my people that allows me the same flexibility and the same compassion, which doesn't very much happen. I very rarely have canceled calls. If you've worked with me, especially if you've been a long-term client of mine, I can probably count on maybe one hand or less how many times I've had to move or reschedule a call. Um, I really do believe that it's because of the way that I pour into my people and that I make space for the human behind the brand that enables them to also extend that same compassion for me. So your reputation in how you are treating your people and not just looking at them as a number, not just looking at them as a figure that exists in your spreadsheets of clients or looking at it from this very robotic, mechanical, siloed way, but rather understanding that each and every person that has entrusted you with their time, effort, money, and energy, that is a human being behind the scenes that is going through their own range of life situations as well. Okay. So I know this was quite a long monologue at the beginning of this session here, but those were just some reflections that came through since my last session, and I felt that they were really important to share. So thank you for those of you who tuned in. Thank you for those of you who reached out, and I hope that this kind of sums up a lot of that. And I am doing okay. I will be okay. I know I will be okay. I'm still having my moments of weakness. I'm still having, tears. And I was telling a client of mine today, or a friend of mine today, that like I literally had to wipe tears before getting on my group call. And it's not that I'm pushing myself to show up because I have to do it. Like I had my moments of sadness. Now I know that the waves of emotions come and go. I know that grief is not a linear process, and I'm being okay with it, and I'm being okay with being witnessed in it, not feeling like I need to, portray this image. All right, let's get into why we're actually here today. Let's get into the actual crux of the matter. So I mentioned that I wanted to do this video last week simply because I realized that there's a lot of themes that I find myself repeating over and over and over again with clients in various different capacities. And also in some of the things that I'm seeing in the online space, some of the ways that I see people dealing with industry changes and just ways of branding, marketing, positioning, sales, all of it. And I had a lot to say about it. So I had taken down 10 points that I want to go through tonight. And I promise you, I'm not going to be as long-winded as my original Q&A, but there's value. There's value in this, okay, guys? I know you guys love my long formness in this, but there's 10 points that I found myself repeating on repeat for the last 2 weeks, and I want to go through them because I feel like there are incremental nuggets of value that will help you understand how to position, how to brand, how to approach your mission, your business in a way that feels more like you, how to get with the times and the changes that are happening in the industry, how to recalibrate why you got into business in the first place, and how to not fall for the gimmicks and tactics and the ways that business and marketing is being sold to us today as this, manufactured, you know, doing everything for the sake of efficiency style of doing things. So I'm going to get into these 10 points. I'm going to give you guys examples. I'm going to share personal stories if it helps to drive the point in. So take out a notebook and I hope you enjoy. I hope this is something that helps you. All right. Point number one. And I have written these down so that I don't lose my train of thought. Point number one is that the greatest flex as a brand today is staying true to yourself and to your message in a world where everyone is optimizing for what is popular and what is efficient. Just this past week alone, I have scrolled through endless content pieces that have all somewhat sounded along the lines of here's how to create 40 posts in just under a minute. Steal my prompts or a prompt guide to come up with 100 viral hooks based on your niche. Here's how to have Claude analyze the social trends every morning and tell you exactly what you need to post this week. Here's the exact framework that I use for my most viral yapping videos. These are all things that I have seen, and I understand why they're effective. I understand why they're catchy. I understand why we hit save on them or why we consume them, because it is providing us with clarity, with a roadmap, with structure to running this business more efficiently, to taking away the guesswork from how to show up in our content. It is giving us it is giving us that false sense of efficiency and efficacy in the way that we are showing up. But the issue, the issue with these types of content and this entire lens and approach that we have somehow blindly fallen into is that we have started to optimize our missions, our ideas, our craft to what is going to get the most views, what is going to go the most viral, can I frame this idea in a way that's going to catch on the most? How am I going to present this offer in a way that is going to bring in sales as fast as freaking possible? And I feel like we've lost the plot a little bit. I feel like we've lost the original essence and passion and vigor for why we got into business in the first place. And I went on a little bit of a rant on this a couple of weeks ago on one of these videos about for the people who feel like they just want to throw in the towel or just they want to give up and hang it up and say, I've done the social media thing for so long. I'm now bored. I'm burnt out. I feel like I'm on this constant hamster wheel. I don't even feel connected to why I started this business in the first place. And my message then is the same message here. These types of hooks that I just went through, the how to, come up with your 100 catchy reels and whatnot, They are all about the visibility, about the virality, about the attention, about what is it that you are extracting and getting from your presence? What is it that you are taking from people? Rather than putting you into this energy of what is it that you are giving? What is it that you are showing up in service of? Who are the people who can benefit from this message that you have to share? What feels so raw and true to you on your heart that you feel like this is a message that just needs to be said? It is almost a disservice if you don't show up with this message. Those are the things that I want to bring the focus back to. And this isn't to take a dig at these types of posts. I don't want to take a dig at AI. I don't want to take a dig at, how to take one content piece and turn it into 40. Like there is some value in that. And some of it I can scroll through and be like, "Oh, I didn't realize that's something that's possible." But what I want to be very mindful of and very discerning of is this obsession with increased output and optimizing reach, like as if we just created our business to become content machines. And when I catch my clients falling into this, like, how do I do more? How do I reach more people? How do I do more top of mind? How do I get more qualified leads? I'm like, calm down, take a deep breath for a second, okay? Why are we doing this in the first place? Did you start your business so that you can get a million views? Did you start your business so that you can optimize your Claude AI to mimic your voice? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? You started your business because you recognize that you have a skill set, a solution, a passion, a zone of genius that is needed in the marketplace. And we're going to be getting into that in a little bit as well. You started this business because you realized that you have something of value to share with the world. There was a fire lit up inside you when you recognize that there is a gap in your industry that you have a solution for. And your goal, your mission when you first started this business was to talk about the thing that lit you up. Somewhere along that line, it became about optimization and how many content pieces are going out and algorithm hacks. And all of a sudden, our entire focus became how do I get more attention? How do I get more attention? How do I get more people to see my stuff? How do I get more visible? How do I stand out? Not all attention builds authority. Not all efficiency and virality is good for your brand. I say this to my clients all the time. I have worked with people who have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers and lots of engagement on their posts, and yet their business is bringing in nada. Nada. Like they can't even pay their rent with the income that's coming in through their social channels. And the reason for that is because we have created this hype around visibility, around metrics, around who gets to see our stuff, who has the most amount of attention. But attention does not equal trust. It does not equal authority. It doesn't equal value exchange. It doesn't equal people seeing your stuff and being pulled to it. The work that has had the most amount of impact with my people and the work that I follow and I admire are the least popular takes, are the least unpolished rants, are the least optimized for virality. They are the long form pieces of content that force me to think. They are the, bizarre takes that make me kind of stop and go, I need to read this. They're not optimized with viral hook templates. They're not formulaic in their delivery. It is when there is a message that is being shared from such a deep, authentic place, and when it's being communicated with such precise articulation, and when I can feel that the person behind the scenes is so deeply embodied in that message, that draws me in. When someone has a solution, when someone has built a world that is that is attractive to me, that's what pulls me in. Not this hyper obsession with efficiency and virality, not falling for what the algorithm rewards, not morphing your message into what's going to be palatable, what's going to be accepted, what's going to bring in views and leads, right? The over polishing and the optimization of your message is what is killing your magnetism. It is that constant perfection wheel. It's that constant, how do I get better at this? How do I get more people? How do I get more views? That takes you out of that place of service and that place of magnetism of like, I so deeply believe that what I have to offer is valuable. And I believe and I trust that beyond just what the algorithm can provide, this message will land in front of the person that is meant to watch it, just like how I'm doing these videos. And I said, I don't care if it's one person watching it or if it's 1,000. I trust that the person that needs to hear this message today is going to hear it. And that is the only purpose for why I'm going on these rants. That's what people want, especially in an age of AI, especially in an age where everyone can pump out content. It is no longer special or unique for you to be consistent and to post more every day. Yes, positioning matters. Yes, clarity on your words matter. Trust me, guys. I want to be clear. Clarity in your language matters. Headlines can make or break whether someone is going to read that piece of content or open your email. I was a direct response copywriter. I have ghostwritten books. I have studied the science and the art of influential communication. I have studied how the brain positions brands. I've studied what leads to decision making. And yes, positioning matters. Clarity on your brand identity matters. Understanding how to communicate in a way that speaks to people emotionally matters. But all of that is very different than optimizing for reach. Do you see the difference here? One is clarifying and refining the message so that the people who are meant to receive it and understand it and digest it can more clearly do so. Another is because you feel like you need to get it out to as many people as possible to feel validated. Two very different energies that we're producing from. The pendulum has swung way too far into optimizing your message, so far that we have forgotten why we are in this in the first place. We've become so obsessed with the rules that we have forgotten that the message is why people are there. The message, the mission, the solution, those are the things that we want to reconnect with. If you feel yourself on this hamster wheel where you're dreading creating content, where you are just not feeling as connected to your business as you were before, I promise you it's because you've gotten more obsessed with the metrics and the performance and the business side of things rather than the actual crux of why you are doing this in the first place. So bring yourself to that point. And again, this isn't to say that having content that you are optimizing so that it gets to the hands of the right people is wrong, right? If you're posting one little Pinterest quote a week and being like, I don't wonder why I'm not getting any leads. Well, no wonder why, right? You need to be visible. You need to be on the platforms that share your message, of course. But be mindful. That is not the only reason why your brand exists. Okay. Point number two. This is one that I feel like I've been preaching from the rooftops for many, many eons now. The reason why people aren't buying your stuff, okay? The reason why has nothing to do with your marketing, with your message, with your strategy, with your offer promise, with anything that you feel needs to be optimized or needs to be strategized cognitively, okay? It has to do with A, not being in integrity with what you are promising, and B, offering things that are not positioned to solve a top of mind need that people have. It is when you are positioned as someone who has a nice to have solution, something that sounds cool, it's intriguing, it's interesting, but it is not solving a need. Messaging, marketing, packaging, visibility, everything that I just went on a rant saying that we are optimizing for, these are all secondary factors to building demand. Okay. The science of demand comes back to two laws. And this is something that I teach inside my programs. This is something that I have spent the last decade trying to ram into the heads of people. Number one is the law of embodiment. Asking yourself, have you achieved the very promises, the very outcomes, the very transformation that you were promising others? Have you yourself gone through the ring of fire, the process that has gotten you deeply, deeply embodied through lived experience in the very things that you are promising to other people? This becomes so important because energetically, people can sense wherever they're at in their readiness journey or how familiar they are with your brand. People can sense when you are not in energetic alignment with the promise that you are making. And there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of nuance to this. I've had people say, well, Parmees, like, I've never made $1 million, but I have helped plenty of clients of mine that are far surpassed $1 million refine their branding, messaging, and so on and so forth. That's perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. As long as you are not promising to take them to $2 million. Okay? You have not achieved that yourself. You could have the tools, you could have the equipment, you could have the knowledge, the experience, the wisdom that someone might need on their way to whatever their goal is. You don't need to have achieved that very precise goal, but you do need to have applied the teachings that you're about to relay to them. You do need to have created the momentum that you have for yourself through the things that you are conveying to them. Okay? I have worked with clients of mine that have been almost at $1 million months. Okay. And I can tell you without shame, I am nowhere near $1 million a month. And yet, the way that I've gone into their business and I've audited everything from their message ecosystem to their presence online to their offers to their funnels, and I have caught the gaps. I have caught where are they leaving money on the table? Where is it that conversion is dropping off? Where is it that people are confused? Where is it that they themselves are not being clear on what is being promised? I've caught the gaps. And although I cannot say that their increase in revenue is a direct result of the work that we did together, I'm willing to bet it had something to do with it. Okay. So those things that I was catching, those are things that I myself have divulged in and have embodied in my own business practices. Okay, so we want to be an embodiment with the thing that we are promising. If we are promising confidence, conviction, shadow work, mindset work, identity work, have we gone through the period or have we gone through the lived experience of actually fully going through what I call that ring of fire? When you commit yourself to a direction, to a mission, to a message in your business, don't be surprised when life hands you opportunities to go through that process, that very process that you're teaching others, so that you can embody it yourself. I have seen this time and time and time again with clients of mine, where it's like, oh, this is the thing I want to do with people. This is the thing that I'm really good at. This is the thing that I think people need and I want to package and that I want to sell. Boom, life hands them an opportunity to have to go through those very teachings. It has been as extreme as a loss of a child, a loss of a job, death in the family, things falling apart. Oh, you want to do mindset work, eh? Oh, you want to do identity work, eh? Oh, you want to help people with their confidence, huh? Oh, you want to teach people how to become securely attached in relationships, huh? Okay. Okay, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Here's a situation. Let's see if you yourself are embodied in that process. If you are teaching people to become this bold, affirmed, self-assured version of themselves, but you crumble when a post of yours does not get engagement, where's the embodiment? If you are telling people that you are going to help support them and give them all of the knowledge and the insights and the know-how of a strategy and content and how to build demand and all of these things, and yet you yourself have never successfully done a launch in the way that you teach it, where's the embodiment? A lot of times it is not our messaging, guys. It is not the content. It is not the top of mind language. It is not the offers. That those are not the reasons why things are not selling. It's because we ourselves have not gone through the process yet of embodying the very things that we teach. That's what's happening. That's why you have a halt in the momentum, in the sales. And guess what? No amount of strategy, no amount of business voodoo is going to get you out of an embodiment problem. I even had a previous client of mine voice message me earlier this week and tell me that she is taking a step back from her offers, from her projects, because she realized that she has been out of integrity with what she's been promising and that her herself has been hiding from doing the very work that she is promising to her clients. And until she goes through that process and deals with some of the grief and the pain that she's been hiding from, she is not going to be promising that to her people. Okay, so that was law number one. I'm talking about the science of demand, right? The law number one is the law of embodiment. Law number two is the law of economics, which is another, in my opinion, this should be basic like business 101 when we decide to start our online businesses. But for some reason, we are so focused on making pretty carousels and viral reels, we forget. Law of economics is this product responding to a need in the market? I don't know why all of these business coaches are forgetting economics 101. Money only exchanges hands when there is a need, a desire, a gap, or a problem that is being solved. People only pay you when they feel like the thing that they are paying for is resolving something that is relevant to them. It is relevant to something that they themselves have decided that they need to solve. If I go work with a personal trainer, it is because I recognize that I want to get in shape and that I lack the knowledge, the experience, the know-how, the tools on how to do that on my own. Maybe I've been in the gym, maybe I've taken spin classes, maybe I've gone on walks, maybe I've dieted, and I still look the same. I don't feel like my body's changing. I don't feel good in my body. So I go pay a personal trainer to create me a program and to guide me through what I don't know. That is the value exchange that is happening. So a lot of offers when I'm doing my audits or when I'm, looking at people who say, "Oh, my offers are not selling. I just need a better message. Maybe I need to run ads. Maybe organic is failing. Everyone's saying organic is failing. I need to run ads." I look at the way that the message or sorry, the offer has been communicated and positioned, and I say, "Honey, you don't need to run ads. No one knows why they need to buy this thing." A lot of you are selling nice to have things and trying to make money out of it, and people have no idea how this is relevant to them. Okay? Overcoming intergenerational trauma is what you do, but how is it packaged as a need? How is it packaged to speak to the top of mind relevant issue that intergenerational trauma is causing for someone? Is it that they're consistently chasing emotionally unavailable men and have no idea how they keep falling into the self-sabotage cycle of chasing people who cannot meet their needs, always feeling like they're getting the short end of the stick in relationships, always feeling like people are taking advantage of them and having no clue why they keep getting themselves in the same situation over and over again? Do you see how that is speaking to something that is a little bit more top of mind than overcoming intergenerational trauma? People don't know what that means. That sounds like a nice to have. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess we all have intergenerational trauma. Yeah, that sounds nice. I'll invest in that in 5 years' time. Rather than speaking to the top of mind need, I call this in my programs, I call this the MPP, the most pressing pain. The thing that is keeping them up at night, the thing that they're worried about. And sometimes it's not a pain point, it is a desire. It is a goal that they have, that they know they want to attain. And the pain is simply their inability to achieve that goal. It is the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Are you speaking to that gap, or are you speaking the language of you as the coach, mentor, consultant, expert, and it's not actually speaking to the need of what is it that they are looking for? My offers don't sell out the way that they do because my content is really good or because my visibility and my reach is epic. It's actually abysmal right now. I don't do the things that get me virality. I don't post reels. I'm not on TikTok. I have just started doing these long form YouTube videos. I have built a very, very tight-knit community through Facebook and Instagram and my email list, and that is it. And I could be doing a lot more right now, and I've just been lazy as heck. I'm just gonna ride the wave of being lazy until I decide, okay, I guess it's time to expand and get on other platforms or try out other lead generation strategies. But that's not the point. My content is not the thing that sells. Yes, my content positions my expertise, my authority, it builds connection. The reason why my offers sell out, the reason why I have a current wait list for my one-on-ones all the way up until August is because they are solving a need and a gap that people have identified they want solved. The reason why people put deposits to work with me in 4 months' time is because they recognize how desperately they need the support. They need the custom tailored audits. They need to understand, why is their business not making money? Where is it in their messaging that they're not communicating clearly? What is it about their positioning that is attracting lesser qualified leads? That is a need, right? I'm not saying, show up as this wonderful, poetic, magnetic figure so that you gain lots of respect and people love you. Okay, that's nice. That's nice to have. But what is the need? The need here is the tangible solution or the tangible value exchange that is happening, which I will come into your business, I will audit, and I will tell you, where is it that your brand has leaks? Where is it that your message is not potent? Where is it that your zone of genius is not differentiated from anyone else in your space? Where is it that your offers are not being communicated with clarity? A lot of times we chase these solutions to make our content better and to build better funnels and be on more platforms for discoverability, when in reality it's just the simple math is your offer speaking to something that is a need. So for those of you who are watching this and this resonates with you, I want you to go back to your offers and I want you to ask yourself, is this speaking to a need that is in the market, or is this simply speaking to the thing that me myself as the expert knows that people love? Sometimes we get so close to our solution, we are so close to our own genius. I call this the curse of the expert. It takes many forms, but one of the forms of the curse of the expert is when we are so close to our own work that we automatically assume everyone knows what we're talking about. Everyone knows why they need the thing that we do. Everyone just like flocks to us because our content's really good, right? It's not us showing our expertise that builds demand for our services. Step number one of demand in your services, aside from being embodied in what you do, is it actually solving a problem that people want solved? There's a lot of offers I've been pitched where the messaging sounded good, I understood what was included, and the only reason why I was not buying was because it wasn't fulfilling a need of mine. It sounded cool, but it's not something that I would be making a high, four-figure, five-figure investment into right now. It's not something that is urgent to me. It is not something that is pressing. It is not something that is going to alleviate a pain, frustration, a gap. It is not something that is going to bring me closer to an aspirational identity or an aspirational destination. Those are the elements, by the way. Those are the ingredients of what you want to be clear on before you put an offer out there. Okay? The last thing I'm going to say about this point number two here, is it is also very, very important who you work with to get clarity on this. And this isn't to like pedestalize myself and say I'm the best in the industry and I'm the only one who can do this. Absolutely not. There's plenty of brilliant people who can help you with this as well. But be very careful who you invest with, because someone who has only ever worked in their business and someone who has only learned how to do business their way, right? These coaches who coach coaches, who coach coaches, who business mentors, that if they only have ever grown their own audience, their own product, their own way of operating their business, that is not a template for you to follow. They don't know how to custom create a strategy for you. The reason why I am so versatile in the way that I give my feedback is because I have worked across multiple industries as a copywriter, as a conversion strategist, everything from physical businesses, literally chiropractic clinics, bridal boutiques, wellness spas, like actual brick and mortar businesses, to product-based businesses, technologies, different tech things, supplements, wellness products, to then moving into service-based entrepreneurs, lawyers, doctors, coaches. I've seen a variety of how branding, messaging, marketing, packaging, and offer development works. Offer development isn't just your, 12-week metaphysical transformation program. That's not the only thing I've ever learned to sell, or all I sell is content and messaging because I posted on social media, gained a following, and I sold things, and now I can teach you how to write content as well. That's not why. It's because I have worked across multiple industries at various different levels, at various different stages of business and income. So I know what works and what doesn't. I know how people make decisions. I know how the psychology of branding, positioning, and demand works. So be very careful who you listen to when you go to for advice. If you're ever in a program and they are shooting down your ideas, not because they have better insight to give, but because it's not their way of doing things, that is a red flag. Take your money and run and come to me. All right. Point number three. Oh, this is a good one. People need to be bought into your thinking before they are bought into your solution. Okay? I'm going to say that again. People need to be bought into your thinking, your energy, your way of doing things, your way of solving, who you are before they are bought into your solution. And this kind of goes against a lot of what we've been told for conversion copywriting and personal branding. I oppose. So, as a personal brand, let me just start off by saying this is actually why I am so against the how to get people to buy in 0.3 seconds of landing on your page, which I'm seeing everywhere, right? That messaging of how to go from cold to sold and how to never have to nurture again and how to get someone to opt in and become a high paying client within 24 hours. I don't want that. Okay, let me be clear. I don't want someone to land on my page and buy from me right away. Okay, and this is part of my brand ethos. Why? I want someone to come to me because they resonate with my methods. They feel a soul level connection to my methods of thinking. They look at my content, they watch my energy, they are discerning about whether I'm the right provider for them. They listen carefully to how I express myself, to how I solve problems. I don't want someone to land on my page and impulse buy. I'm not in the business of selling quick things that are top of mind and juicy as impulse purchases for $27. Not to say that I don't believe in low ticket offers. What I'm saying is the mentality and the rationale behind how I sell is deep, long form types of content that get people connected to the essence of who I am. I want people to have spent time in my world before they come to me. Whether they're buying a little DIY course or package, whether they are opting in for one-on-one work, whether they're coming into my 12-month mentorship group program, I want people to have spent time in my world. I want them to be familiar with who I am, how I think, what my values, what my philosophies are. Why? That is the best filtration system for the people who come into my world. I have not, knock on wood, I have not had refund requests or nightmare clients in I don't even know how many years. The only two refunds I've had to issue in the last year, I kid you not, have been because people have bought the same thing twice because the messaging was so good they forgot they bought it the first time. And they're like, oh crap, I already had this. And I've had to refund them. Okay? We want to start seeing our presence as a way to build genuine, authentic connections and relationships with people rather than just simply marketing our services and to create sales. The sales and the DMs happen as a byproduct of you demonstrating your expertise, repeatedly showing up with aha moments, creating that sense of connection, having people be bought into your philosophies, your wisdom, your way of thinking. That is what creates that magnetic, like, you are my person, I need to work with you type of response. Not because you have found the psychological triggers to put into your top of funnel content that get people to opt in right away. Which, by the way, to my previous point about making sure that you're speaking to needs, if you have a product that is positioned as a super, super top of mind, like, oh, this is exactly what I was looking for, you will get people who buy things right away. I buy things from people right away all the time. But these are not really big investments. These are not people that I'm like looking to be mentored by. These are people who have small bite-sized products, whether it's a video or a guide or like something that is going to solve a top of mind issue. And then great, now I'm in their funnel and guess what? They still need to nurture. I still need to familiarize myself with their mechanism, with their solution, with their way of thinking. I need to be bought into who they are, how they solve, what do they do that's different than everybody else? How is it that they're going to specifically be solving my problems and my needs? That needs to happen. Okay. But this entire idea of I put stuff out there and I've been talking about it for 3 weeks and no one's buying, where was the relationship building? Right? Where was the value that they got from you? People don't follow creators that just teach them things, teach them facts, teach them things. They follow the accounts or the creators that help them make sense of things. And these are two very, very different lenses when you're looking at how you are creating content that actually builds trust. There is an overwhelming amount of content out there that is helpful, that is structured, that is authoritative, that is intelligent, that is optimized for reach and all the things that we've talked about. And yet it doesn't create that pull. And the more you've trained yourself to do it right and to teach and to use the psychological hooks and to, have the carousels designed a certain way so that they're easily readable and whatnot, the easier it becomes to unknowingly create work that just blends in with everybody else. Your edge nowadays is not better content strategy, it is not more potent messaging, it is deeper connection to your voice, to your perspective, to your insights, to your creative process, to your personal stories of how you transmute things. Much like how I started today's session, talking through my personal experience and the insights I wanted you guys to take away from that. It's helping people gain a deeper insight into their current state. It's helping them learn more about the root causes of certain patterns of theirs. Why are they stuck where they're stuck? How is it that they can flip the switch and see their situation in a different light? In doing that, you are providing insight and relief on why they might be perpetually experiencing a problem. Why haven't they been able to move through it already? Why haven't they been able to solve it on their own? It's helping them piece together what are the necessary steps or the missing ingredients to reaching a particular goal. The people that I invest into and the people whose content I religiously follow and that I admire are the people who are helping me make sense of a situation that is relevant to me, whether it's in my relationship or it's my finances or if it's my business, my content. They're not just teaching me how to do things. They're helping me make sense of a current situation while helping me see what is missing and how is it that they can help. Basically, all educational content is, or is meant to do, is to help people understand their current state at a deeper level, understand what they're missing, understand why they haven't progressed yet, and what is it that you do to help them. There. That is what educational content does. That is all. Before positioning the work that you do, or the solution that you've created, or the offer that you have, or the problem that you solve, people need to feel a common sense of ground. They need to be bought into your thought processes. They need to feel familiarity. They need to feel resonance with your unique way of thinking. So, this is why sharing things like micro shifts in perspectives, relatable stories, speaking around the thing that you do and the subtopics around the thing that you do. That's how you shape people's perception and positioning of your brand. When they like you and they resonate with your way of thinking, doing, being, moving through the world, creating, they lean in closer to what you solve and to what you offer. So creating a presence nowadays is not just about creating a super sexy offer and knowing how to constantly talk about it to sell it. We are not endless sales pitches here, right? Again, we're going to fall into this transactional energy, which turns a lot of people off. People nowadays buy from creators that they feel connected to. I shouldn't say nowadays. The people have always bought this way, but I feel like it's just recently become popular to say this, where it's like, wow, we connect with the human behind the brand, not just what they teach and what they offer. Wow, mind blowing. Okay, point number 4. This is 4, right? I think it's 4. Okay. Stop treating your social media like a slot machine and start treating it like a bank account. This kind of like sums up everything that I just talked about. We're forgetting the compound effect when it comes to building momentum and building a presence, building a body of work. A lot of us are treating our social media presence like a slot machine that we need to show up and insert our coins every day, aka post our content, and just keep going at it with the slot machine because one day one of them is going to take off. One day one of them is going to go viral and it's going to bring us all these followers and they're going to opt into our stuff and they're going to buy from us and boom, now we're rich. We're making $1 million and we can retire to Montenegro on a yacht. It's not how it works. We should not be approaching social media from this like frantic, like, when is it going to take off? When is it going to take off type of energy? As a matter of fact, the more we approach it from this outcome focused way of thinking, the less effective our presence actually becomes. The more we think how to create content that is going to help us make it, the less our chances of hitting it big. Your social media success or your business success through social media doesn't come from posting more, or it doesn't come from optimized content that all of a sudden, helps you win the jackpot. It comes from consistently building a presence ecosystem that gets you discovered. It's from that slow burn compound interest effect. See every post as a building block that is adding to your audience's repertoire of trust, connection, and shared value. Every single time you show up, every single touch point is a micro deposit in that bank account. It is a micro investment that develops interest. It is the compound effect of having a presence like that all of a sudden takes off one day. It's that almost like physics equation where like nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens when all of a sudden everything happens. But the paradox here is that you can't be waiting for that moment where everything happens. It actually happens when you least expect it. It happens as a result of your consistent dedication, your consistent commitment to showing up and doing the work, aka posting, speaking, being engaged with your message, being engaged with your audience, regardless of whether it's paying you right now or not. That frantic slot machine energy is putting something out there and seeing if you get something back. Putting something out there, seeing if you get something back. That gets tiring after a while. You're going to be discouraged at the slot machine until you get a little bit of a win, and then it reinforces that behavior, that intermittent reinforcement. You're like, oh, I got to keep going because maybe I'll hit it viral again. Maybe I'll get another big cash day or something. That frantic energy is not an attractive energy to be in, and it's a fine route to burnout. Incremental, slow burn businesses are for the win. And I know this is not sexy, guys, but anything that actually works in life is not very sexy. It's going to require consistency, dedication, putting hours of work into something and not seeing the returns right away. And that's hard. That is really hard. It's hard to stay consistent and dedicated and not get discouraged when all of this effort and love that you're putting into your craft is not showing you any return. But it's the people who can make it through that threshold. It's the people who can be perfectly fine showing up and being committed to the process, regardless of whether they are seeing immediate returns on their work. Those are the people who win in the end. I've used myself as an example here. And again, this is not to self-pedestalize, but I've been in this game for over 10 years. I see memories popping up on both my Facebook and my Instagram of messages that I have shared 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And I look at the engagement, and sometimes there's none. Sometimes it's zero. Sometimes I went months and months posting, and it was like speaking into the void. And yes, I invested into getting better with my message, understanding my audience's needs more, refining my own mastery of my craft, getting better at the things that I do. It's not like I was just idly sitting there posting, hoping someone's going to see me. I was in an active process of becoming a better person and service provider. But I was showing up and I was doing the thing regardless of if people clapped for me or not. And slowly but surely, that started to build momentum. People started to take notice. And yes, I was actively putting myself out there. I was posting in groups. I was going to networking events. Like I wasn't just passively posting, hoping to get discovered. Like I said, I was doing the things that enabled my message to get out there. But regardless, I would show up, even if I went to a networking event and nobody liked anything, or if I posted in a group 3 times a week and nobody noticed it. But incrementally, people started to take notice of my words. They started to take notice of the essays. They started to take notice of how my work is different, how I'm calling out things about the industry that nobody else is calling out, how I started to create a micro movement around ethical marketing. And it took time. I started posting content on social media back in 2014. 2014, you guys. It wasn't until 2016, 2017 that I started to get people's attention. 2018, it started to kind of really take off. 2019, I was crushing it. 2020, 2021, like it was just upwards from there. But there was many years of no one knowing who I am and not caring. And I had to be okay with it because I loved the craft. I loved the process of creating. And just like how I say in these videos, I don't care who watches them. I don't care how many people get through the entire video. I genuinely enjoy being the person here sharing this with you guys. I genuinely enjoy being immersed in delivery of value. I only have maybe 5 YouTube videos out right now. I don't think any of them have over like 100 views. Okay. I'm okay with being seen being a beginner. Like it's okay. And I will continue to show up on a weekly basis making these videos for the next I don't know how long. And I'm okay with it. Maybe it's going to lead to something, maybe it's not. I'm doing it for the craft and for the enjoyment of it. It's because I see my brand presence as a bank account, not a slot machine. And anytime you open a new bank account, anytime you have a new investing account, it looks abysmal in the beginning, right? But little baby amounts of money in there. It's not really doing much. But over time, the pattern, the trend is always up. Even if it's up and down, up and down, up and down, it is always up. But it takes time and it takes patience and a lot of emotional regulation to be okay with yourself through that process of time. Okay? So think bank account, not slot machine. Point number 5. You don't need a content strategy. You need to understand what you solve, how you solve it, and how and who you solve it for and why it matters. This kind of reiterates a lot of things I've already said, but your content is not talking to your niche. It is not what your offer does. It is not about your positioning and your authority. It's about your lens, your lived experience, your unique insights, and it's about someone's felt experience of you. How do we create a felt experience of you? Through your personal stories, through your unique perspectives and point of views on things that other people might not have thought of, which are usually extracted from your personal experiences and stories. It is speaking about your purpose, mission, movement, the change that you are called to create, the solution that you have to a gap that you're noticing in the field that you work in. And it is the problem that you solve. What is it that the skill set that you have developed, or what is it that the offer that you have developed is actually solving for people? What is that? What is the value of that? A lot of people will say things like, I can't create content until I know my niche, or until I have a title, or until I know who I'm speaking to. Think of it this way, your niche is simply what problem you have. Excuse me, what problem you have a solution for, I should say. And what is the perspective, the approach, or the lens on how you solve it differently than others. That's it. That's your niche. What do you solve for people? Your niche is not a person, right? It's not Kathy who's 43 and lives in the suburbs and drives a Subaru. That's not your niche. We're out of the demographic world, right? Your niche is the problem that you solve. So what is the gap? What is the problem that people are actively looking to solve? And what is your way of solving it differently? How is it that you solve it that other people don't solve it? What's the lens? What's the lived experience that you bring into the picture? What's a unique mechanism or a framework you've developed? What's a unique take that you have on it? Do people resonate with your values and your philosophy on how you solve that problem? That is your niche. For myself, just to give you guys an example, um, I don't have a niche like, oh, I work with coaches who are in their first 2 to 3 years of business who are trying to reach 6K, whatever. I don't do that. That's demographics. The problem that I solve is there is a plethora of experts, creatives, and skill workers out there that have an immense amount of value to share with the world, but they have zero idea how to monetize it. They don't know how to package it. They don't know how to differentiate themselves. They don't know how to communicate it. They don't know how to build a brand around what it is that they're doing. So the problem that I solve is I help them take their expertise, their genius, the thing that they are really good at and what they're passionate about, and I help them package it into something that feels authentic, into something that solves an actual need, into something that actually communicates to the people out there that are looking to spend money on such a thing. And then I help them build the brand that builds the momentum towards that. The lens that I have, the way that I do it, is I have a very ethical approach. I'm not for the sales tactics. I'm not for the, overly curated strategies. I'm not for a lot of the very conventional, traditional marketing ways that we have been taught. I have a very unconventional, kind of avant-garde approach to how I run my business. And I'm very vocal about it. So as long as I'm consistently showing up, positioning myself as someone who solves this problem over here and speaks to the needs and the desires and the fears and the wants of the people over here, while also talking about how my method, my mechanism, the way that I solve it is different, I'm going to be pulling people towards me that resonate with that. They say, that's exactly me. That's who I am. That's exactly what I've been trying to do. And I don't resonate with anyone else. I resonate with you. That is my niche. Okay, that's how I want you guys to think about your niche. Everyone is teaching tactics on how to get you seen, on how to optimize your content distribution, and how to, use top of funnel content, middle of funnel content, bottom of funnel, and how to have a tripwire and all of that. But without clarity on who you are, what makes you different, and what is needed in the market that people are actively looking to buy, content and how great it is will not matter. This is where brand identity work becomes so important. This is why one of the key foundational parts of when I work with my clients before we even look at their messaging and their offers and all that is who the fuck are you? Who are you? What are you here to do? What is it that makes your work different? And if they go on a 15-minute spiel trying to explain everything, that's when I know they have never done brand identity work, right? Brand identity work is not your typography. It's not your color scheme. It is not your logo. It is not the pictures that you use. It is not the imagery that your brand portrays. Brand identity work is how clear are you on what makes you different? What is it about your work, about your solution, your method that makes it unique to how you do it? Who is it for? What are the different elements of what your brand stands for that nobody else can replicate? These are the parts of brand identity work that we need to get clear on. Okay? Without a solid brand identity, without knowing who you are, what you solve, how you solve it, who do you do it for, and why it matters now, you don't have a business. Okay? This is like ground zero. You need to have these things. Stop obsessing about content strategies and content distribution channels and what's the perfect spread of content on like maybe Tuesdays I post reels and Wednesdays is talking head and then Fridays it's a carousel. That does not matter. Who are you? What do you solve? Why do people care? Why are they paying you? Those are the things I want you guys to obsess about, okay? Not how many reels a week do I need to post to go viral. There's a concept I teach. I don't want to get too deeply into it because I do this in my programs. Give me a second. I gotta drink water. Ooh. There's a concept I teach in my programs called the influence triad, and it's been adapted from Aristotle's model for persuasion. So it's not something that I came up with. I just adapted it to branding. which for those of you who are familiar with Aristotle's model of persuasion, you know that there's ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos is the trust, meaning why should people believe you? So this is built through sharing your lived experiences, the proof of what you've accomplished for yourself and for others, that the embodiment of the work that you do, the authority and demonstrating what you know about your field, the consistency of your message, and consistently showing up talking about things long enough so that people associate you with it. That's what builds trust. Next, you have pathos. So pathos is why should people care? This is like the emotional component, the emotional layer. So through your storytelling, through your emotional resonance of how you convey and deliver a message, the shared tension of things that you had to move through that other people can see themselves in, the vulnerability, the aspiration, speaking to a version of their identity that they want to become, getting them emotionally invested in wanting to attain that identity. That's pathos. That's the emotional layer. And then finally, it's a logical layer, which is this is the final one that we work on, which unfortunately in the copywriting marketing world, this is the one that people try to hammer into you. And it's like that doesn't really matter until the very end, which is why does this make sense? Why should I trust that your mechanism or your way of doing things is going to be valuable to me? So sharing your frameworks, your methods, your reasoning, explanations, your evidence, the strategic clarity that you're giving people so that they understand the mechanisms behind the transformation, behind your offers. Most creator brands overdevelop one of these and they completely neglect the others. You either become an incredibly amazing storyteller and influencer who takes builds in public and takes people on a journey with them and all of that, but then there's no trust and logic as to why people would pay you. Or you are so logical that people only become, you know, attached to, okay, this is the thing that they teach, this is the thing that they solve. I would probably only go to them if I needed a solution that has a need for XYZ, providing the evidence and social proof. It's like, okay, they have the credibility for it. Or you share your lived experiences, your trust, your educational content, so the ethos, and people just simply see you as a talking head, like a teacher, right? So with the logic, it's like they see you as a solution provider. They would go to you if they need you to solve a problem for them in that domain. Whereas with the ethos, if you only focus on building trust, people only see you as a information source, right? Whereas with the pathos, they see you as an influencer, someone that they emotionally relate to, but they wouldn't buy something from. So you don't need a content strategy. You need to be clear on how each of these elements play a role in your business, in your brand, and consistently showing up talking about the various things that you solve for people. Why is it important? If you consistently show up and answer those 5 questions that I asked at the very beginning of this point, that is your content strategy. That's it. That is it. You don't need a perfected content calendar. If anything, a perfected content calendar will get you out of that creative zone. It gets you out of that like magnetism. Okay. So no more content calendars. Point number, are we at 6? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. I feel like this is one that I've had to repeat many times. This is one of those points where I feel like it's just common sense. Like everybody knows this. And then I share it and people are like, this is mind blowing. And I'm like, really? Really? I feel like this is basic. And that again, another version of Curse of the Expert is you get so close to your work, you feel like the things that you know that are mind-blowing to others is just common sense. So, this is what point number 6 is. We need to learn the difference between branding and marketing. And once again, these are two terms that just consistently get used interchangeably in our space. Here's what I've seen. Two people can have the exact same marketing strategy and have wildly different outcomes in the number and in the quality of people that they attract. And that is because of the brand behind it. Okay, so marketing strategy is secondary to brand strategy. And branding is not how many platforms you're on, what funnels you have in place, how do you nurture your audience, where do you gain visibility. It's not even like what the offers are or what you promise. It is the felt experience and the mental associations that people tie to your brand. It is the gist and the feeling that people get when they see your name or see your logo or see your company pop up. I want you guys to think about branding as identity and meaning being put together. Okay, so identity being who you are, what you stand for, how people feel about you, your reputation, the relationships that you have, your positioning, and yes, of course, your tone, your voice, your aesthetic, the promises, the language, the cadence, the imagery. Like it's the world that you are building that people come into. Okay. And that world is answering the questions, why should people care? Who are the types of people that you want to attract? Why should they trust you? Why are you different than other people that can build similar worlds? And what emotional category do you occupy in their mind? How do people feel that sense of emotional resonance with you? A strong brand, when performed and when curated, I shouldn't say performed and curated, but when built and presented well, creates a response of I like them, I trust them, they're premium, they understand me, they're the obvious choice for me, that's the person for me. That's the only person I would want to work with. This is how branding shapes people's perception. And it creates this unbeknownst connection and attachment to your way of doing things. It's the same feeling that we get when we think about Dunkin' Donuts versus Starbucks, or Apple versus I was going to say Apple versus Mac, Apple versus PC, right? The moment when you see a brand pop up, when you hear the name, when you see the imagery, it pulls you into a specific world, right? When I think about computers like PC versus Apple, it gives me a completely different felt experience in my body. That is what your brand does. Now, marketing is how you distribute that brand. Okay, so marketing is, yes, it's getting discovered, it's generating demand, it's having visibility, it's creating traffic, it's communicating your offers, it's moving people towards action, it's the types of content, it's the platforms, it's how you are capturing those leads. That is what marketing does. It takes the brand that you've created, the world that you've created, and it distributes it through ads, SEO, content strategy, email campaigns, organic social media, partnerships, joint ventures, different funnels that all come into your stuff, seasonal promotions. Like that is marketing. That is the strategy and the tactics of how to take the brand that you've created and to push it out there. But these two are not the same thing. Because a lot of times when people come to me saying, I need marketing support, they're correct. They do need marketing support, but with no solid brand behind it, what are we marketing exactly? They want me to answer the questions. How do people find us? How do we generate leads? How do we create demand? Like yesterday, how do we get people to buy? How do we get more people opting into our stuff? So, yes, marketing drives that visibility and drives actions, but without the brand, without the reputation, what are you amplifying? Without understanding the psychographics of the people that you're attracting, without understanding what makes your brand or your value proposition different than everybody else out there, what are you marketing exactly? So again, marketing has become another one of these things that we've like hyper fixated on, and we've become obsessed with marketing channels, but we are not thinking about, well, what is the brand that we are creating that actually allows that marketing to bring the right people to us? What's the point of SEO? What's the point of distribution channels if we are not clear on who we are and who are the types of people we want to bring in? This is the same type of this might go on a little bit of a tangent, but this is the same type of thinking when people say I'm working on my business versus when I'm working on my brand. Two very different things, by the way. Your business is the operational engine, the entirety of the entity that you have built. And it requires you to put that effort and energy into getting the engine to run with products, revenue, pricing, systems, sales, delivery, marketing. Like all of that falls under the category of working on your business. It is the strategic elements that bring revenue and keep things going. Your brand, it's not the business, it's not the revenue, it's not the marketing, it's not the scaling, it's not the systems. Your brand is the perception of how people see that engine from the outside. People don't see the business stuff that you are working on, they see the brand, right? That is the reputation, the trust, the emotional connection, the story behind it, the mission, the vision, the identity, what people associate you with, what feelings they associate you with. Where are you positioned? Like, are you a Walmart or are you like a Louis Vuitton? Right? So it's why people remember you and choose you. So when people say I'm working on my business and my brand, I say, well, which one? Because those are two very different things, right? Your business might require you to think more strategically about scaling, about how to expand your product suite, about how to systemize certain things, to maybe create more leverage in your business and how things are delivered, how to increase sales. but the brand is the energy, the identity, the sense of meaning behind it. And they influence each other, but they're independent entities. So when people put way too much emphasis on the business side of things, so let's say example one is a business, sorry, yeah, like a person that has a strong business but a weak brand. So maybe you sell really excellent products through ads and through, you know, all of the ways that you created all these channels. So your revenue might be strong, you might be getting a lot of leads, your operations are efficient, customers buy because of the price or the convenience or because you popped up on their feed or whatever, but nobody remembers your name. Nobody remembers your company. There's no emotional loyalty. And you're very easy to replace by your competitors because there was no sense of felt connection with your company. So the business engine is working, it's bringing in leads and sales, but you have to work harder if there's no brand to magnetize and keep people there. Example two of this, or scenario two in this, is let's say someone has a very strong brand, but a weak business. And this is oftentimes the case with people who come into my world. So they have a huge audience online, or they have a well nurtured audience online. People know them, they like them, they trust them, they really like what they stand for, but then they have no clear offer. They have very poor systems in their marketing, in their delivery. They have very weak pricing or very vague pricing. They have inconsistent delivery in how they show up in their brand and their message. Um, and it's like it's kind of hard for them to see how they can consistently bring in revenue because they know their ideas are good. They know their genius is potent. They know they have a lot of value to share. But without the business things being very clear with the offer, with the revenue, with some of these more like masculine structures, right? I kind of see it as like maybe branding is like the feminine and business is the masculine. I don't know. Without that, it's really hard to actually monetize and to create sustainable revenue. And these people a lot of times burn out because the entire business is them. Much like I was saying at the very beginning of this call, the reason why I was able to step away for a couple of days is because I have a business. I don't just have a brand. It's really important to know the distinction between the two. A lot of founders, creators, professionals, experts, they accidentally focus way too much on one engine and completely neglect the other. And then they wonder why things feel hard. So if you only focus on one, you will get short-term results. Meaning if you only focus on business, you'll get sales, but very little loyalty. People buy the product, they're not buying you or the ethos of your company. There's no like shared sense of familiarity there. And if you focus only on your brand, you might get a lot of attention, but there's no sustainable income there. There's no scalability, there's no predictability. And guys, I'll be damned, like monthly reoccurring revenue and sustainable income is your pathway to freedom as a creator. Okay? People might admire you if you have a lot of brilliant ideas and you show up and you talk and you have, you know, almost like poetic like content. But if you don't have a system to capture that demand and to convert that into sales, you've only got a little brand, my friend. You've only got a little social presence, my friend. You don't actually have a business. People admire you, but they don't transact with you. So the healthiest companies, the healthiest entities are building both. They have the brand engine, which builds the trust, that builds the attention, the emotional pull, increases their perceived value. And then they also have the business engine that converts that trust into revenue, that builds the systems, that creates operational reliability, and that captures actual value. And when you have that, customer acquisition is a lot easier. Sales don't feel as heavy and like you need to overcome a bunch of objection. Your pricing power increases, right? Growth becomes less dependent on constant involvement in advertising and content creation, and you actually have systems that are doing it that way. So think about your brand as like the feminine. It's like the magnet. It's what pulls. It's what receives. It's like bringing it in. And then the business is like the machine. It's the masculine. The magnet attracts. The machine creates and delivers. Okay, that's all I had to say about that. I hope that was valuable. Point number seven. You will never gain confidence by following other people's blueprints. You will only gain confidence in creating your own. This is again one of those things that it's just like human flaw, human error. When we are so lost in where do we get started? How do we take all of these ideas that we have and synthesize it? And how do we come up with a strategy? How do we get seen? Like, oh my gosh, everyone's telling me something different. And there's so many different ways to approach content and marketing and business. And oh, I'm so overwhelmed. We fall prey to just someone giving us a roadmap and giving us a blueprint and saying, here, just follow this. It's super simple. And it's very easy to start to outsource our power into thinking that somebody else has the answers, somebody else has a way of doing things that is far better or more effective than what we know to be true. That is not always the case. Okay, it's not always the case. As a matter of fact, the more we follow other people's blueprints, the more we feel like we need to follow their roadmap, their way of doing things, the less self-trust we develop in ourselves, the less we start to follow our own creative, intuitive urges, and the more we feel like we need to take our expertise, takes everything that we know, and to fit it into a box of um, someone else who has it figured out better than us is going to know better and is going to help us get results. It is only the process of taking incremental actions, following your own innate intuitive urges that helps you develop the confidence over time, like that bank account analogy that I used. And it doesn't mean that everybody's methods and content and all of that is ineffective, because I myself have guiding principles that I teach my clients, or programs and DIY solutions like a little course. My Demand to Desire course is kind of teaching you a system of thinking. But I'm not saying here's exactly what to post and how frequently, and here are the prompts, and here's the, I'm not taking away your creative leverage. I'm simply giving you some ground rules so that you can direct your effort, you can direct your energy in the right capacity. And I want you guys to start being okay being witnessed in the process of figuring it out. There's a lot of resistance in many of you, and I know because this came up in a group call a couple weeks ago, where it's like, but I don't want to be seen figuring it out. And to those people, I asked, what does it mean to you to be seen figuring it out? What's wrong with that? And the general consensus is that being seen figuring it out means that you're less of an authority, means that people trust you less. It means that you don't actually know what you're doing. And here's what I want you guys to remember. The skill set of what you do, so the skill set of whatever your zone of genius is, whether you're a coach, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a nervous system practitioner, like whatever it is that you actually do with your clients, that is a completely different skill set than the content, marketing, business stuff. These are two separate entities. Or these are two separate skill sets that you have to learn. So just because you are being witnessed figuring out the business stuff, testing different offers, launching beta offers, creating bite-sized ways for people to come into your world, doing market research calls, that doesn't mean that you are not good at this thing over here. It just simply means that you are figuring this out because you have mastered this thing already, or in the process of mastering this thing. So don't be dissuaded or discouraged from being witnessed in that process of figuring things out. Don't be afraid of losing credibility because, oh gosh, God forbid you change your mind and you decide to, take down an offer and repackage it and refurbish it and come out with it a different way. The creators that you probably respect and admire that look like they're crushing it right now, I promise you, they have gone through millions of iterations of how to do their content, how to deliver their offers. I myself, and I'm very transparent with this about this with my clients, I myself have gone through various formats and iterations of how I've been presenting my brand, of how I've been delivering my signature program, of how I deliver my intensives. I'm just now redoing how I'm doing my intensive because I'm noticing some of the gaps in how I'm delivering and what people are walking away with. And I am not afraid with being like, hey, I used to do this way. I realized that that's not really working for me, or it's not really providing the best results for my clients. So I've now decided to do it this way. You only gain confidence, and I only have the confidence and the expertise that I have now in the way that I'm operating my business because I didn't listen to how other people told me I should be running my business. I did it through trial and error myself. And in doing so, I learned to trust myself, which is a huge factor in your success. It's when you are not consistently delegating and outsourcing this thinking power, this creativity, to thinking that somebody else has a blueprint or a way of doing it that is way better than what you can figure out on your own. That is how we create these codependent relationships with our mentors and the people in business that we follow. It's that we feel like we need to run every idea by them. We feel like we need to get their permission before we do something. And a lot of times, if you've been in my programs, I do this. I say, are you asking for permission or are you asking for support? Because it sounds to me like you think you know what you're doing, so why don't you just go do it? And they're like, yeah, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it just in case. And let me be clear, I'm perfectly fine with giving my thoughts if someone is really feeling unclear or stuck on an issue. But a lot of times they're not. A lot of times it's not being stuck. A lot of times they're just simply looking for that like stamp of approval. And I say, you're not looking for support right now. I need you to self-trust. I need you to go deep into that part of you that thought this was a good idea in the first place and go learn by trial and error. Go learn by doing, by experimenting and being okay with failing. I'm okay with letting my clients fail. I'm okay with them having a flopped launch. I don't feel bad for them having a flopped launch because I know that the redirections and the lessons that they're going to gain from that is going to be far more valuable than them following my launch blueprint and getting results and never actually learning how they want to do it in the first place. I've had so many clients in the past that have come to me and said, I followed so and so's XYZ launch blueprint and I made six figures, but the process completely burnt me out, or it brought in the most unaligned clients I could ever imagine. I completely hated delivering that cohort because you're following somebody else's blueprint. And they'll be like, yeah, but it worked. Did it though? Let's be honest. Did it though? If you hated delivering the entire cohort, if you were burnt out by the process of the launch itself, did it work? What is the metric that we're using for worked? Because to me, what works in business is when I enjoy the process of what I'm doing and I enjoy the people that are coming into my world and I enjoy showing up and being of value and of service to them. That's a launch that worked. When it brought in people that I feel so lit up by, not a group of people where I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to show up for these people again. Who cares if I made six figures? Right? So you only gain confidence by following your own blueprint and not being afraid of being seen fucking up. Remember, the skill set of what you do and the skill set of business are two different skill sets. Just because you're figuring this one out does not mean that you are not good at this thing over here. Please, please, please give yourself that permission and be okay with it and recognize when you are in a season of needing support versus when you are in a season of self-trust. If you are in a codependent relationship with a mentor of yours, a coach of yours, because they have kind of built the infrastructure in a way that makes you feel like you can't figure it out on your own, you always need them, you need to rely on their feedback, you need their approval and permission on things before you move forward. Think about that. Think about that. Where is that crippling and handicapping your ability to think as a creative, your ability to act? Okay, I'm gonna leave that there. There's more I can say about that, but I think you guys get the message. Okay, point number 8. Ooh, ooh. Okay, I'm gonna try to be concise with this one. Don't start a business because of what it does for you. Start a business because of what you do for the world. I know that sounds super corny. I know. But there is an energetic component to doing business that I really want you guys to understand. I posted something the other week about how there are those who see their presence as a way to market themselves and sell their services and make revenue. And there's other people who see it as a way of showing up and being of service and using their platform as an extension of their mission. And I had a lot of people being like, well, why can't it be both? You're absolutely correct. As a matter of fact, it is both. But the thing is that that first point about using your platform to sell and market and generate revenue oftentimes happens as a byproduct of you first seeing your presence as this non-transactional way of showing up and incrementally delivering value and services to people. As a byproduct of you showing up and being of value, that is what allows you to market. As a matter of fact, the best marketing in the world actually does not feel like you're marketing to people at all. The best sales strategy in the world does not make people feel like they are being sold to in the process of it. When people sense that they are being sold to, or they're being convinced, or you are building the case and warming them up to move them towards a particular outcome, especially in a hyper sophisticated skeptical market like the one that we are in today, it turns them off. And it doesn't mean that you need to be ashamed of selling or that you need to be ashamed of marketing. No, no, no. I want you guys to unapologetically own the value of what you have and show up and deliver and make an ask. Absolutely. However, if the energy has shifted in how do I get this business to do something for me? How do I get it to source my sense of validation to make money so I feel good? It is not going to last. It is not going to last. I have seen dozens of businesses go out of business or mysteriously disappear or lose all the momentum that they had Because of this energetic Achilles heel, which is what I call it, the energy behind our brand dictates more of its success than anything else. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses have started, or a lot of people got into business, especially after like the 2020 boom, to fill a void within. It is to source a sense of worth and significance. It is to feel like they're doing something of meaning. It is to have escaped from a job that they don't like. It is to prove themselves to someone that they care about. It's to feel like it is to feel important. In other words, it is to extract from the market. It is not to create value. Your personal brand, the personal brands that are actually successful, are not about them. And I know you're going to say, but Parmise, you just said to talk about my perspectives and my personal stories and my insights and my point of views. And isn't that about me? No. It is about the value and the mission and the insight of what you are creating for others. Much like the video I shared earlier this week that was talking you guys through a very vulnerable, messy experience that I'm moving through. I did not create that video so that you guys feel bad for me. I did not create that video to elicit the response and the support from the audience that I did. It was nice, don't get me wrong. I really appreciated it, but that's not the reason why I created that video. I created that video because I felt like there was a message in the thing that I was sharing that needs to be put out there. I felt like there was a message that was coming through me that someone needed to hear. I use my personal brand as a channel for the message that is delivering the value. It is not about me. It is not about pedestalizing myself. It's not about getting you guys to be like, oh my gosh, she's so smart and so rich and so funny and so pretty. And it's not about me. I'm simply the vehicle that delivers the message. If you have a platform to share a message, do not use it to self-glorify and line your pockets. That is not the energy that you want to be in as a personal brand. You want to use this platform to fill a gap in your industry, to solve something, to provide value to someone out there that might be struggling with something that you have struggled before, or might be experiencing symptoms of a problem that you have a solution for. If you have a skill set, I would be as bold as to say you have a responsibility to show up and serve. That is your way of giving back. That is your way of creating a life of meaning for yourself. You're not doing it for the money or the lifestyle that it brings. As a matter of fact, I remember I used to do audits and intensives with people, and when I would ask them about like their business and what got them here, the moment they started to tell me about how they want more freedom and they want more money without having to constantly work and they want to be able to travel, like immediately they would go into the things that they want to get from their business, that the things that they want to reap, the rewards, the fruit, without having yet even put in the labor. I would immediately disqualify them from people that I would want to work with consistently or on an ongoing basis. Because I realize that when we have one eye on the prize, one eye on the destination, we don't have both eyes on the process that it takes. And typically those are the people that don't have what it takes to succeed in business. They're looking for the quick wins, they are looking for the rapid growth, they are looking for the virality, for the money. They're the ones that lose themselves when things don't take off, when things don't go viral, when the cash is not just seemingly rolling in. Those are not the people I want to work with. Those are the people that started a business for what the business can do for them, not what they can do for the world. And again, some people are going to be like, well, Parmise, can we not do both? Like, are you not making a profit off of what you're doing? Are you not making multi six figures a year? Like, what the fuck? Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. But that came as a byproduct of me consistently showing up with a message, consistently showing up with value, consistently giving more than I was getting. That is the energetic debt. What am I trying to say here? Debt that I had to pay, and not everyone has what it takes to pay it. And I always say this, if I had a rich billionaire husband that was taking care of everything, and if I did not have to worry about lifting a finger to pay another bill in my life, and if I knew that every single expense and luxury was taken care of, I would still be showing up and doing this today, because I see this beyond just what it does for money. I see this as a mission. I see this as a skill set. I see this as my craft. I see this as a way for me to feel like I am creating something that is giving back to people. And if that sounds corny to you, then that sounds corny. Is it possible to be money driven and ambitious as well, you absolutely can. And I don't want to shame you guys for being like, but I want to make money. Absolutely. And as you should, as someone who wants to give back, as someone who wants to be of value and of service of others, you have a responsibility to be so valuable that people want to pay you. You need to be a resourced person. You need to have wealth to be able to do the things to give back. I'm not saying that you're going to be working as a charity case. What I'm saying here is that that can't be the primary motive. It can't be when is the money coming in? How can I retire to Mexico and never have to lift a finger again when you barely have put in the reps? Put in the reps. The people that you admire that are making millions at the top have a long line of stories and years and failures and many, many iterations of who they've been, how they've shown up, how they've delivered value before they have created the lifestyle that they have. I'll use the Hormozis here as an example, even though I don't agree with everything that they say or do or the lifestyle that they live. The one thing that I admire them for is the message that they stick to that you do need to put in the reps. You do need to put in the work. There's no easy shortcut to it. Quit your whining, quit your bitching, do the work if that's the results that you want to see. And do the work in a way where you're not constantly looking up to see how far you've gone. That's the secret here. All right. We got 2 more points to go, guys. We're almost done. We're almost done. For the love of God, stop outsourcing your ideas to AI. Please. As a matter of fact, if you are a client of mine or someone who comes to me because you want to do brand identity work, you want to do messaging work, you want to do offer work, whatever it is, and you hand me a 50 plus page document that you gave Claude or ChatGPT some ideas and it just pushed out a branding Bible and now you want me to analyze these 50 plus pages because you just ranted into your AI and it's given you this thing to work with and you don't know what to do with it and you're so overwhelmed by the 50 pages of data that it pulled for you that you're like, oh crap, I'm just gonna give it to Parmise and she's gonna help me make sense of it. Respectfully, I'm gonna print it out. I'm gonna print it out for you, okay? I'm gonna roll it up real tight. I'm gonna roll it up into like a newspaper. I'm gonna find where you live and I'm going to shove it up your ass. That's what I'm going to do. Okay? Respectfully. Here's why. If we cannot sit down and have a conversation, have a discussion about what it is that you do, why is it important, who do you help, why do you serve them, what is it about your work that makes a difference, how is it that your skill set and expertise has iterated. If we cannot thought spar, and if I cannot ask you deeper questions about your ideal client, about how this work is relevant, and you can't answer those questions, you have no business using AI. Not yet. You haven't earned it yet. You are handicapping your own ability to solve problems. You're handicapping what clients actually pay you for because once again, you are outsourcing your brilliance, your genius to a machine and thinking that that machine is going to know your work better than you do. Even worse, some of you, going back to my previous point, have not yet put in the reps to gain the experience that you need to have to know how to develop offers, to know who is going to be attracted to your brand, to know what it is about your work that makes it so needed in the world. And instead of doing the hard work of going out there, doing the market research, starting conversations, having offers that flop completely, instead of doing that work, you are trying to bypass and shortcut it by going to AI and asking it to come up with a framework for you. Come up with a brand strategy for you, come up with an offer curriculum and name and promise for you. Those things need to come from your lived experience. Those things need to come from you literally getting your hands dirty in your content, in client work, in doing some of the bitch work that many of you don't want to do, and getting the clarity as to who this work best serves, who is it not for, who are the people who are really aligned with the way that you operate, what are the gaps in your own teaching, and how do we take those gaps and create resources, create solutions? That's how you get better at delivering what you do. The way that I have structured my 12-month mentorship program right now, it was not like this in the beginning. I started teaching this, what I'm teaching right now, in 2018. In 2018, it was just a couple of calls I was doing with people one-on-one. And then I realized that, oh, this is a lot more complex than I thought. So I started digging deeper. It's not just about their copy. It's actually about the brand and the message behind the copy. And then I realized, oh, it's about understanding the offer. It's actually about understanding the audience psychographics. Like my expertise developed the more I was engaging with my brand and with my skill set. And over time, I developed my own systems, my own, acronyms. I developed my own frameworks. There was nothing for me to go put an idea into ChatGPT or Claude and have it give me a result. And even if it did, that would not be a result that is embodied. That would not be a result that I actually felt in integrity to deliver because it had not emerged from my own skill set, developing and iterating. Stop trying to bypass the creative process with AI, guys. I'm not against AI, and I've said this in my programs many times, and even on these videos, I'm not against AI. I see it as an amplification tool. I see it as a way to merge certain ideas, to shortcut your time for taking care of certain tasks. I don't think it needs to be used for creative insight development. Ideas take time to form, insights take time to emerge. Creativity is a practice, it expands the more that you engage with it. Your best work is forged through active participation and through active serving. Once again, we can't talk about self trust and building self trust as being one of the key indicators of your success without actually being okay with sitting with an issue or sitting with a problem, sitting with a question long enough to allow that answer to emerge without quickly running to AI to solve it for you. This trust recession that we keep talking about in the market because people are burnt out from making bad investments and people, don't know who to trust anymore. We can't talk about the self-trust recession before we talk about the self-trust epidemic that got us in this trust recession. The only reason why people are in a trust recession is because plenty of people who were not actually mastered in their craft started to make very bold claims about what they can do and how amazing their work is without much evidence of ever having to do that for themselves. And then we paid them $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 to teach us their ways, to take us under their wing. And then after some period of time, we realized this person's actually full of shit. They actually don't know what they're talking about. Or we've developed this unhealthy, codependent relationship with them. And so what happens, it damaged our self-trust. We now can't trust ourselves to make a investment decision. Now we are burnt out from being in programs. But that was not because there's a trust recession that just emerged out of nowhere. It's because we lacked self-trust in the first place. We made bad decisions because we felt like somebody else had answers that we did not have, that we couldn't trust ourselves to know how to lead and to trust ourselves to sit with uncertainty long enough to have answers emerge. We had to run to someone else to tell us what to do. And again, I'm a mentor. So I get it. I do have insights that can help you. I do have ways that I can frame things that you haven't thought about before. But one of my main motives as a mentor is to empower you to think for yourself. I change the way that you think. I don't give you the blueprint. And if you've been in my programs, you know how frustrating that this is. You just want me to tell you, promise, just tell me how to do the thing. I refuse to. I'm going to get you to think about it. I'm going to give you questions. I'm going to give you insights. I'm going to give you reframes. I will give you a little bit of a blueprint of what to do, what not to do, but I'm not giving you specifically, here's what you need to do, here's how to craft it, here's how to launch it, and boom, now you just gotta go and follow Parmesa's plan, and now everything's gonna fall into place. I don't do that. I help you develop this self-trust muscle, which I believe is one of the most important skills that you can develop as an entrepreneur and as a business owner in today's day and age, especially in a trust recession, especially in an age of AI. That's what I'm gonna do with you. So stop running to AI for everything. Stop running to AI for everything. Allow your ideas to come from real lived experience. Give yourself the challenge of sitting with a content piece and developing it out as best as you possibly can. And then maybe give it to AI and ask it, where are the gaps in understanding? Where is it that the message is not clear? Okay. Finally, point number 10. Probably the most resonant with where I'm at in my own personal journey right now. Um, Point number 10. You aren't growing in business because everything that is sent your way that is meant to help facilitate your growth is what you dodge because it's uncomfortable or hard. Meaning your capacity, your confidence, your own creative power, everything that you need to actually become that deeply solid, convicted version of yourself is not developing is not getting stronger because when you are sent things as an opportunity to actually work on that conviction muscle, you don't. You avoid it because it's scary, because it's uncomfortable, because it's hard. I talked in a previous video about how most people today are borderline delusional about what it takes to make consistent revenue in their business and what it actually takes to succeed in business. It's not just about having a couple of reels and a couple of pretty posts, put them out there, and boom, now all of a sudden people like me and they're going to trust me and buy from me. Growth is going to require you to stretch far past what your current capacity of what you think you're capable of doing and doing it and building incremental evidence that you can. Everything that I shared in my previous video and in the beginning of this one about the difficulty that I'm going through right now and how I hit my own limit and my own capacity, it's in facing it, not running away from it, not numbing it. It's in facing it and engaging with it and sitting with it and reflecting and integrating the lessons that I'm now expanding my capacity to build my confidence and to handle hard things. Your business will only grow to the level of identity and the capacity that you have. And capacity will only grow when you do more of what you didn't think you were capable of. You didn't identify as someone who thought you could handle that. Just like how when I share my immigration journey and long distance and all of the debacle of moving and living between three countries in 3 years, people look to me and they say, I don't know how you did that. I would not have been able to do that and run my business and remain sane. I beg to differ. I bet you could. It's just that your identity has not been calibrated to that. You've never been in a situation where you've had no choice but to expand your identity and your capacity to do that. So only doing what you're comfortable with and sticking to that comfortable bubble will create the same results you already have. For more visibility, for more trust, for more authority, for more confidence, like whatever it is that you're trying to achieve on the other side, you're going to have to do something that will inevitably feel uncomfortable at first. It will feel like you're pushing the edges of that threshold of what you are capable of doing. Every time in that situation, you retreat into what is safe and into what feels comfortable and what feels familiar, you reinforce the identity that you cannot hold the life that you are asking for. Every time you retreat into, that did not feel good. And I'm just going to go back to what I've always been doing because at least that does not hurt. You're telling yourself subconsciously, you're not meant for that. That's not going to happen. It's going to take you longer to even get there. This is why, even in my programs, I say this is not a safe space. And it's not because I'm going to be tearing you down. It's not because I'm going to shame you. It's not because I'm going to make you feel badly about yourself. Anyone who's been in my programs can tell you this. I can be sharp, but it's always done with love and respect. My friend Dana, if you've watched our conversation about the female nervous system, we actually talked about this, and she said, I feel like she's been a client of mine as well. She's like, I feel like you're that parent figure where it's like you're not doing it in a malicious way, you're not doing it to tear it down, but it's like a very firm discipline. And it's not a safe space. I'm not going to coddle you. It is going to be a challenging space. I had a 3 hour intensive with a brilliant woman earlier last week, I think. And she said that she's taken two of my programs and her brain hurts after sitting through each of the sessions. Every time she watches one of my trainings or comes to one of the live Q&A calls. And my answer to her was good. That's preparing you. You're not meant to leave mentorship sessions feeling inspired and wow, that was incredible. That is not going to do shit for your business, guys. Please, come on. Okay. That's the same as me working out or getting a personal trainer, going to the gym, and then being like, I'm just going to put the little baby weights on you. Is that okay? Okay. Do 12 of these. And I do like just breeze through them. Okay, great. I just don't want to put too much pressure. Okay, let's move on over here. No, 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 no. I want a nice butt, dude. I want toned shoulders and arms. Okay. I want my back to look chiseled. How do I get there? Pushing your muscles until failure. That's what you need to do. It's the same way in your business. You're not going to be growing if you're only showing up and creating two nice, fluffy pieces of content because that's all you have the capacity for. That's all that feels good for you to create this week. There's a level of commitment, devotion, and dedication to your craft that is going to require some uncertainty. It's going to require some difficulty. Guys, stop avoiding the big, scary stuff, the painful stuff, the stuff that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Personal branding and entrepreneurship in and of itself is personal alchemy. It's self-alchemy. And in that alchemical process, you need to be uncomfortable. You need to be disintegrated sometimes. You need to be broken down. You need to feel the confines of your capacity stretching past what it's capable of to actually grow into that. It's the same way I use the example of how I was terrified of public speaking. 6 years ago, I would not have done this. Let me tell you that. I would not have done this. I was terrified of it. And it wasn't until I consistently put myself in situations where I was speaking on stages, speaking on summits, speaking on podcasts, even if I was having a breakdown before getting on or before hitting record, but doing it showed me that I have what it takes to build the confidence. I did not wait for the confidence and the clarity to come before I took the action. I took the actions that then gave me the confidence. That is what I want you guys to remember. No meaningful thing is accomplished through a regulated, calm, comfortable state. It is done through activation, through feeling the fear and doing it anyway, through sensing the discomfort and telling yourself you have what it takes. Any meaningful rite of passage is inherently a dysregulating one. Stop obsessing with being in a calm, cool, collected, regulated state and using that as an excuse to not do hard things. Oh, I tried to post videos, but it got me really dysregulated. Good. Do it again. Do it again. Okay? Nothing valuable is created from a regulated state. We need to let go of this obsession with comfort and ease and softness and regulation, especially as women. The things that have allowed me to create a life that is wildly abundant, that is filled with rich experiences, people, community, money, opportunities, is because I did some really, really hard stuff. I did the masculine stuff of having to put on my armor, go out there and fight a war. Fight a war within myself along with out there. I had to do that. I had to do that to build my confidence, to stretch my capacity. I had to be okay with temporarily being in a dysregulated state to finally get myself to a point where my business feels regulated. But it took a lot of dysregulation to get there. Remember, every rite of passage, every next iteration, involvement, identity, capacity, version of you is going to require breaking through a threshold and getting to this new level and feeling wobbly in that level before you figure it out. That is a process. That is the incremental steps of growth. So when you are given opportunities to speak, to do something scary, to post something that you won't usually say because you're afraid of ruffling feathers, take it. It is your key. It is the pass to that next level, even in your personal lives. I'll share this really quick as a final note, just to bring everything back full circle to what I said in the beginning. As a result of me receiving this devastating news that I received last week, I was forced to make a very tough decision to cut someone out of my life that I deeply, deeply love. I did not want to let this person go. As a matter of fact, a couple of months ago, the thought of never speaking to this person again put me in a spiral. I didn't think I could, not that I couldn't live without this person. I knew I could live without them, but I did not think I had the strength to let them go. Until this news fell on my lap and I was given all of the evidence as to why this person's presence in my life is not good. It's not good for me, even though it feels good because I care about them. I had to make the difficult decision to let myself allow them to go, even have that difficult conversation because they also did not want to go. And I had to be okay with abandoning them. But it's not abandoning. It was choosing myself and recognizing that this person is not good for me. And even though they feel good, it doesn't mean that they're good for me. That was beyond what I thought I was capable of doing. That is not someone I don't let people go that I care about. That was beyond what my identity had calibrated to. But I'm reinforcing that identity that I love myself and I'm doing this for me. And self-love sometimes is doing the hard thing. Self-love is not resting, rejuvenating, regulating, feeling like everything is taken care of, taking your bubble bath. That's not self-love. It can be nourishing, and we all need that, especially as women. We're cyclical beings. We sometimes need periods of time where we do that. But a lot of times, self-love is doing the thing that disintegrates you and recognizing that you have to do it because that is the thing that is good for you. And even if it feels excruciating in the process, it is the version of you that you know that you are going to get to on the other side that is going to keep you going. I knew in this decision, it is going to hurt. I'm going to go through withdrawals. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to crave them. I'm going to want to reach out to them. And yet, going no contact is the only pathway to get myself to the other side, to get myself to that version of me that is secure enough to recognize when someone is not good for me, I'm going to let them go. I'm not going to keep them in my life because of the attachment that I have formed to them. That is building capacity. It is feeling the fear, the hurt, the dysregulation, going through all of the bodily sensations, but yet doing it anyway. And I know deep down, everything in my life that I have accomplished at a very young age, I'm 30 years old, and I accomplished a lot of success by the time I was 25. A lot of money, a lot of clients. Okay. I did it through doing really hard things. It never just fell into my lap because I had a post go viral or because, I was handed an opportunity. I worked for it. And it doesn't mean that you need to suffer and sacrifice and bleed on your way to success. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that you have to make peace and embrace the process of discomfort in that process of growth. Because it's in the embracing of the discomfort that actually expands you to the point where you can hold more comfort and you can hold more life, uncertainty, dysregulation. And it's not that the situations get easier. As a matter of fact, the more you grow in business, the situations get harder, they get more painful, they get more, you have more responsibility, there's more people looking to you, there's more things involved, there's complications and webs and layers. You get stronger. You can handle more. You have a deeper sense of confidence and conviction in what you can handle. Don't avoid the hard things. All right, guys, that is it. That is all. I hope this fiery session brought some insight, brought some ahas, brought some necessary pep talk to get you back into action. Whatever you've taken away from this, I hope that it is not just valuable, but that it actually is integrated and is actually, doing what it needs to do. As always, I love doing these, and it is a way for me to get my message out there in different forms, different mediums. If anything spoke to you, and if anything feels like it merits a deeper conversation, if there's something that came up for you that you want to let me know about, please do so. I love to hear from you guys. I love to hear what resonates. I love to hear the ahas. I love to hear your own challenges and what you're moving through because those actually act as uh, fuel or ideas for future videos. So, as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, you're part of the 1% of people who can handle long form content like this. But until next time, hope you guys have a great night, and I will chat with you guys again soon.